Welcome to the Alpha Mediumship Academy podcast, a space for intuition, mediumship, and spiritual growth. I'm Elle, and each week we explore conscious development, awareness, and the deeper side of spiritual experience. So, wherever you are, settle in and let's begin. Welcome to the Alpha Mediumship Podcast. I'm Elle, and today I'm really excited because I have my guest medium, Leah, joining me. Today we're going to be talking about intuition, how we recognize it, how we doubt it, and what actually changes when we start trusting it fully. If you've ever questioned your own inner knowing, this episode is going to be really supportive for you. Leah, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Can you take us back to when you first started noticing your intuition?
When I was younger, and I just say younger because I don't have a specific date, my mother and my grandmother, my Nana, used to always tell me that I could see things and that I would tell them that things that were about to happen, or if there were spirits in the room, I would point to them from my crib. And my first most vivid memory is when I was 14. We were at our summer house in Maine, and my home growing up was in Philadelphia. And I came down the stairs crying one morning and told my mother that our dog had died. And she said, that's not possible. Your brother's at the house in Philly. He would have told me. And I stayed on her. And so she then called home to find out what was going on. And indeed, that night our dog had died. And then so that was a lot to process. I was sort of like, yes, I know I'm not crazy. I know this is real. And then when I was 15 or 16, I know that I was in high school. And back then we used to have digital clocks. And I was awakened at 2 a.m. and told to look at the digital clock. And I did. And it said 2 a.m. And then I went back to sleep. And falling back to sleep, I was immediately transported in what I thought was my dream to a surgery, an emergency room, where my grandfather, my mother's father, lay on a gurney. And so they were resuscitating him, and I could see the doctors over him, and they were all pushing on him. And so I remember seeing his spirit fly up and sort of like almost, I was up in a corner and looking down at everything. And his spirit kind of flew up and flew past me. And I stopped his spirit and I said, well, Granddaddy, where are you going? And he said, oh, I'm tired. I have to go. And I said, no, you can't go. You have to go back into your body because Mom's not ready for you to die yet. And he and I went back and forth. And of course, we were speaking telepathically. And so I knew this was different, but I just thought maybe it was a dream. So I saw him go back and his spirit dive back into his body. I felt relief. I woke up and I looked at the clock and it said 2:02, and I was quite frightened. So I went into the bedroom of my mother and stepfather and just laid down on their rug and slept. And then at 6 o'clock in the morning, my grandfather's wife, my Nana, called and said that Granddaddy was in the OR and there were a few minutes there over the night when he stopped breathing. I'm
Wow.
certain, more than likely, that was when he and I had a conversation. And I have a million stories like this, but those are my most formative memories. that made an impact on me growing up.
That's amazing. And when this was happening, like, what did it feel like in your body when you were getting these messages?
So that's a great question.
Like, did you trust it right away,
Yeah,
or did you doubt it at first?
no, I never doubted it. I knew it was odd. Odd in the sense that I grew up in a fairly religious home. And when I say fairly religious, like, we believed in God, we went to church. Um, my mother was Baptist, my father was Episcopalian. I ended up becoming sort of very um, focused in on the Episcopal Church. And I have a photo of me from college over my bed. I have the words Jesus in a rainbow.
Wow.
Um, so I was really connected spiritually to the religious aspect of spirituality, but that wasn't really how I was connected. I was really connected through my spiritual relationship to what I now know as mediumship.
Right.
But back then, of course, I had no idea that that's who I was and that's what I did. Fear, I never doubted it.
Oh, that's good. Like, it
Yeah,
felt right. The
it
energy was strong.
totally, like I knew that I was here to help people and to help. I thought originally it was to help people heal. But most recently, um, I had another experience in 2023. Can I share this?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. When I was adopted,
All of
yeah, great. I was adopted into the family I just described. And being adopted always weighed on me. I always felt like I was slightly, like the umbilical cord to my adopted family had never been cut. And I couldn't rest. And my soul was really desperate to find my biological mother in particular. I wasn't so much interested in my father. And I did a number of sort of things as a child, like a young person, a young adult, where I thought I learned Reiki, I became a Reiki master. I thought, well, this will be the way that I find her. I was sort of searching on the side in conventional ways. And finally, during COVID, a friend of a friend um, found my biological family through Ancestry.com using my biological last name.
Mm.
Because I am um, a trained theater director and have a flourishing career in that field. And my husband is a famous actor. It was really awkward. We were just advised not to put our DNA into Ancestry.com because of that. And so it felt like I would never find them. And there was no way. I tried the internet, I tried everything. And so finally, this woman asks for my biological name, and within 4 hours, she sends me my biological family that traces back to the early 1600s in Sweden. And not only that, she gave me my biological mother's last name, which was not mine. It never dawned on me that she would change her name when she got married. I was pretty progressive and I thought women never do that. And then I finally found her and an address that was 20 minutes from where I grew up. So I literally was within 20 minutes of her my
Amazing.
entire life.
Oh my gosh. Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I promised myself, I also learned that she had MS. She was alive. And so I promised myself when I got my second COVID shot, I would reach out to her and let her know that I know where she is and would she be interested in meeting me. So it was like heaven on earth. And so I waited until March 15th, which was my second COVID shot. And about 2 or 3 weeks later, it was late one night and I was scrolling on Facebook because I couldn't fall asleep. And I went to see if she had a Facebook page, which she did. And at the very top of the page, it said RIP and her name. And I was like, what does that mean? RIP. And so I then realized that she had died. And not only had she died, but she died on the exact day that I got my second COVID shot.
Oh my
So
God.
I was so close,
Oh,
so
that
close.
makes me cry.
It was heartbreaking. But 2 years later, I was awakened out of my sleep and I was told to go to my computer and start channeling. And I had started dabbling in channeling through a friend who'd sent me Bernie Bernstein. I think her name is Bernie Bernstein. Bernie is not the right name, but Bernstein is her last name. Who was sort of sharing what channeling is and how to do it. So I had been dabbling in it and quite liked it because, as you know, we mediums have a really hard time learning about ourselves and our own families on the other side. Like that's just part of how the universe works with us. And so I ended up ignoring the voice that was whispering in my ear saying, wake up and start channeling. Went back to sleep, and within what felt like seconds, probably minutes, I was forced out of my bed. Literally, like I felt a hand push me out of my bed and push me uh, into the chair of my desk. And then I heard the words channel now. So I opened the computer, set the alarm for 6 minutes. You can do it at 4 minutes or 6 minutes. And then I just started typing. And while typing, my biological mother came through.
Mm.
And she came through with my grandmother, my Nana, the one that I told you, who knew that I had this gift from my early childhood, my adopted mother's mother. And she said that your Nana is with me because I have something to ask of you. And I've taken your name and taken you to my grave, and I am not able to elevate. So would you help me so that I can elevate and at the same time help your siblings? Because your brother really misses you. And once he sees you, he will see why I've sent you and that you are indeed his sister. So long story short, I, after a few months, agreed to do it. And Thanksgiving Eve, she kept referring to his name as Andy, Andy, Andy. And I only knew him as Andrew in all of the records I had. So I always typed in Andrew as his first name. But I finally agreed and went into the internet on the day that she told me. She said, if I do it on this day, they will do their part from the other side to make it possible for me to reach Andy. And so I woke up the next morning as she instructed. I typed in Andrew and his last name. Nothing came up. And I thought, well, this is ridiculous. This is a moment where perhaps maybe I'm crazy. And we do have those moments, right? Where we sometimes think this is just, maybe
Right.
this doesn't work for me. I can do it for
Yeah.
others, but maybe not myself.
Right.
And so I then went and made a cup of tea, and somehow tea makes me think and makes me settle down. I think the warmth just sort of settles my body. And had a cup
What
of
kind
tea.
of tea do you like?
I love all kinds of tea,
Oh.
all kinds of tea. Um, I combine teas, but every day I always have oolong because that's an important tea to have, and dandelion and nettle.
Mm.
Um, so those are good teas for me. Anyway, so I had a cup of tea, and then I suddenly realized Andy. His name is Andy. Type in Andy. And I typed in Andy and his last name, And LinkedIn, his LinkedIn came up immediately. So I sent him a letter, and within 20 minutes, he responded. And I'd sent him my email, and he said, because you're famous and because your husband is famous and my wife is famous in her field, I need to know that you're not a bot,
Wow.
which was so smart. So
Yeah.
I sent him a 4-page email with my original birth certificate, photos of myself, our mother's name on my birth certificate. And within 20 minutes of that email, he responded, and the top of the email said, "Welcome to the family."
Oh my gosh.
And I have been
I just got chills.
in, yes, exactly. I've been in touch with them uh, judiciously ever since. We have a Zoom once a month,
Oh,
and our sister lives in Copenhagen. One of our sisters lives in Copenhagen, and
mm,
so I was Zooming with them over the weekend for an hour and 15 minutes
oh,
on summer solstice. It was just so beautiful.
beautiful. Oh,
Yeah,
so
so that's something that has really changed my life and
yeah,
encouraged me to think less about working in the theater now and more about putting 150% into
that's amazing.
this work.
That is incredible. I'm so happy for you that you
Thank
connected with
you.
them and that
Me
your
too.
mom is with you.
I know. It's amazing.
It is
It's
a
amazing. And they gave me photos. Um, I gave them photos from my research that they hadn't had.
wow.
Yeah, it was just
Oh,
incredible. And I was going to say the last thing is,
yeah.
and when I went to meet my brother in California, when he opened the door, he just went, "Yeah," and he kept saying "yeah" over and over. And I didn't know why he was doing that. I was like, God, okay, that's really weird. I kind of look like him, but not really. My son looks exactly like my brother.
Wow.
But then we sat down and both decided we needed a glass of wine because we were both really wound up. And then he pulled out the photos and he showed me the photo of our mother.
That you look just
And
like her.
yeah,
Oh my God, it's incredible. That's your mom. Like
yeah,
you're your mom.
yes.
Mm,
And I look exactly like her.
that's
So that's what
incredible.
she meant. She said
Yeah.
he will know exactly when he sees
Oh,
you.
oh my gosh. That is so
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, was
Thank
he
you.
an older brother or
He's
younger?
a younger brother. So we have an older um, stepsister.
Mm,
And then there's me. And then there's our sister below us that we share with our
yeah,
mother. And
right.
then my brother that I share with our mother.
That's beautiful. I'm
Yeah.
so happy for you.
Thank you.
So I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you, was there a moment where you clearly ignored your intuition and later realized it was right?
Yes. There was a time when I was 16, maybe, which I now know this happens. Um, 16 until 18, when I just completely shut off and tried to be a normal, I guess. Not that I'm abnormal, but just live a life of a teenager and really just turned the faucet off completely.
Right.
And then another thing happened when I was 18, when I was on an elevator with someone, and I looked at them, and I could see in their body that their blood was poisoned. And
Hmm.
so I said to them, um, I just I was like, I have to share this. And I said, you don't know me, but I'm going to give you my phone number, and if you're okay to hear what I have to say. And I said, because I always ask permission all the time. I ask permission to the higher source, and I also ask permission to whomever I speak. And I said, your blood is poisoned really badly, and you need to get to the emergency room right now. And they actually listened to me. And they went to the emergency room, and they had stage 4 leukemia.
Oh, oh my goodness.
And then from then, I was like, I can't turn this off anymore. I'm
Right.
clearly helping people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So
Yeah.
since then, now you see everything so differently because you
Now
know.
I see. That's right. That's right. And I took a course, a
Yeah.
6-month course with Mind Valley, and they really helped hone my intuition
Oh,
in the
that's
course that I
great.
took with them. It's a manifestation course.
Hmm.
But for me, it was really all about fine tuning my intuition and the 6 modalities in which I work. And so that's what I do.
And so it brought out your gift even more,
That's right.
heightened
Absolutely.
everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, why do you think so many intuitive women second guess what they're receiving?
That is such a great question, Joy. I think we intuitive women second guess what we are receiving because we have been taught in our 3D life to
Mhm.
second guess everything. We have been taught that our power comes in second. We have been taught that our voice comes in second. We have been taught that what we think comes in second. And so because we have so much of that, we are really not in control, we think.
Right. And do you think that it has anything to do with conditioning, fear, logic, or past experience?
I think it's all of the above.
Hmm.
I think that what I described as a conditioning, but
Right.
that conditioning feeds oftentimes a kind of low self esteem or fear or belief of inability um, that we harbor. And we really do not allow ourselves to trust. But I've worked really, really hard when I meet an intuitive to just remind them that this is real. What you do is real. And with all of my clients, we are reaching thresholds that exist, that are real, that embrace us, that want us women to come forward. And, there are various books like the Bible, um, uh, books from Buddhism, like they teach us that the Quran, women have a particular place historically in these religions. But the truth of it is, the power of the woman is so much greater in these books than the conditioning that we are trained to believe, at least in the Western world.
Right.
Um, yeah. So
And with your clients and your students, what do you often see the most as far as their fears and experiences and how they relate?
I'll tell you what I get mostly is their spiritual conditioning getting in the way.
Yeah.
Their spiritual conditionings, I don't know if you experience this, but their
Mm.
spiritual conditionings are so informed by what they believe that in many ways, how can I truly trust that God somehow is within me? Because God is that guy that gave birth to Jesus and was, like how can I trust this? But when they understand that actually the quantum grid, like we are the quantum grid, that is our reality, and we are just made up of data points within a quantum grid, and it's our choice how we choose to process that grid. Like that's what the universe gives you. The universe never tells you, they never does anything that isn't for your highest good.
Mm.
So in that sense, how you are conditioned to believe about your God or your higher power is exactly right. But also, ultimately, when you lean into it, you are actually if you think about yourself as God, working towards your highest and best. But unfortunately, part of our journey, right, with our soul, which is why I do so much soul work, is that we get in our own way because we have choices. And within the quantum grid and within quantum physics, you have immeasurable choices. And so, therefore, we have immeasurable choices. And we can only hope that we're choosing the right path for our highest and good. That is what we work towards. So that's how I help my clients and students understand what the end goal is, as it were, in receiving this work.
Leah, how do you personally tell the difference between intuition and fear? Like, where do you feel each one in the body? Does your intuition feel quiet or loud for you? And does your fear ever pretend to be intuition?
Fear for me is often related to doubt. And if I get it, I get I don't get it nearly as much as I used to because I really do,
Trust.
and I live in certainty now.
That's
But when I got it, I would get like a fluttering of like butterflies in my chest area, and it would become constricted. But when I know that my intuition is at play, what I get are chills. And I get like my entire body from my feet all the way up to my crown chakra. Sometimes it comes into my crown chakra and goes down into my feet. My entire body is consumed with chills. And this is when I know that I'm getting a download.
Mhm.
And I'm sourcing something that someone needs to hear. And I get this feeling pretty much throughout the entire day. Even when I'm sitting at my desk working, I'll have a thought and then I'll get that sensation, that's intuition, what I call my chills sensation, my intuition sensation. And it's usually after I've quietly asked myself a question. Should I include this in the email? And what happens is I do a breath, like, because it almost becomes overwhelming. The sensation of chills is so strong.
Right. That makes sense. That's good. You're really trusting what you feel, and now you're in a different place in your process. So
Yes,
very strong.
absolutely. Very strong. And of course, now I know that it's a download. Before I didn't even know that that's what it was called. And that that feeling is extraordinary. Like I can walk down the street. This happened to me the other day. I was walking down the street and there were two women walking towards me and I got a download, and they were walking quickly and the download came quickly, but the download didn't tell me to say anything in particular to them. But whenever I go outside, because I live here in a big city, I always tell myself, give someone that you encounter a compliment. Just, because I pass by so many people every day. Find someone to give a compliment to. Find someone to make feel good today. And so what I realized was from the download is that it was these two women that I needed to do this for. And one of the two women, after I said, you ladies look so lovely today, and your energy is just so vibrant. And one of them turned to me and she said, thank you so much. I'm working really hard on it. And I said, well, I'm your confirmation.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So it's that sort of thing that I continuously do and
Right.
know that that's how my intuition is working.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, what patterns do you notice in people when they're disconnected from their intuition?
I think the biggest pattern is that when people are disconnected to their intuition is that they speak with negativity first. They speak with low vibrating emotions first. So they will choose to say, when you say, well, why don't you try X, Y, and Z? And they'll say, oh, no, I don't think that will work. Whereas if they said, they immediately shut down any possibility. They're telling the universe no. And if they actually said, you know what, I'll give it a shot, especially, and I always tell people, I just did this with my son recently, because he doesn't want to live on campus next year. And I'm like, well, here's an opportunity for you to live in this apartment. You need to find 3 other people. And he texted me and he said, I don't think that's possible. Everybody has a room. And I said, well, if you're going to lead with that energy, then for sure it's not going to work. But if you lead with the energy of, I really want this, I'm going to work really hard to find 3 people who do not want to live on campus and who want to live with me, knowing that the apartment is cheaper, first of all. What do you think? And he was like, oh, yeah, that's great. And because he's still forming as an adult, and as an early adult, he has to practice it more often. But, people who lead with indifference or apathy or annoyance or worry, anxiety, sadness, jealousy, anger, despair, guilt, or hatred, like those are low vibrating frequencies. And inevitably, they are not connected to their intuition.
Right. Absolutely. What what do they usually override first, do you think?
I think they override trust. I
Mhm.
think they override belief. I think they override trust. I think they override unconditional love in themselves. I think they override allowing themselves to have a joyous experience.
Mhm.
Pardoning the pun here. I think they override sort of any high vibrating frequency because it's easier to say no before you say yes. And it's harder to navigate your container when things are difficult. But it's when things are difficult that you need to step forward and do the work.
Yeah. And do you feel there's a common belief that blocks them?
I do. I think that we are inherently taught to fear.
Right.
And I think that's part of it actually has to do with how we, as humans in this 3D life, how we come here. It is often a violent process, right? It is often for the infant breaking through a canal or being ripped through a stomach. There's violence in that, and then you go immediately from a very safe and secure space to the unknown, and you're scared to death. And then you live with that fear um, until hopefully you're conditioned to break out of it. And parenting is quite difficult because you are telling a child, you know, do not cross the street when the light isn't green. Like you cannot go when you don't see the little guy telling you it's time to go. And then when they start doing it when they shouldn't do it, you say, stop, don't, right? So we're immediately creating reflexes that reinforce fear. And it's on every level. We are
Yeah.
eating food we shouldn't eat. We suddenly get, a seizure from the food, or we, choke from the food and have an allergic reaction. Our body goes into like sheer fear.
Right.
And we have to really teach ourselves that actually that was a lesson. We needed that to learn that we can never have that food again.
Exactly. That's so true.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
totally got it right on the nose.
Yes.
So, what actually changes in someone's life when they start fully trusting their intuition? Like, do decisions get easier, like you just said?
I think
Do Yeah.
absolutely. I think so. And I think that they begin living in high vibrating emotions. So
Hmm.
they're more closely connected to unconditional love, to joy, to um, peace, to gratitude, kindness, enthusiasm. I can go on, confidence. I mean, yeah, you completely shift your entire being. And suddenly, all the things that you hope for because you're living in certainty starts coming your way. And then you will get roadblocks and you just work through the roadblock because you know that
Yeah.
what you believe and what your intuition is telling you is what your soul needs, that you're going to get it. We never know the path. We should never ask the how,
Right.
because that shows distrust. But if you just say, this is what I want, and this is what I know I need, and you say, of course, this is what I need, of course, this is what I want, you will get it.
And
Because the universe, sorry to interrupt you, the universe wants
Mhm.
to reward you.
Right. And do you feel relationships shift because of that trust?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And often it's a 50-50. Either it's a good shift or it's a bad shift.
Right. And what do you feel becomes unnecessary?
I think what becomes unnecessary is um, keeping yourself in relationships or glued to situations that you know are not good for you, and you're only doing it because you feel a sense of obligation. Well, if the obligation is for your higher good, fantastic. If it isn't, then that's part of coming out of your cocoon. That's
Mhm.
part of choosing the positive in life
Right.
so that you can reward yourself. And
Absolutely.
it's hard, but it's good.
Absolutely. Definitely.
Letting go is tough, right?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
It's hard to let go of these fears and really trust and believe and find
Ag-
your power inside. Yeah.
Agreed. My theory is as long as I know that I am actually, that God within is
Mhm.
within me and that I am the quantum field, I'm good.
Right. So let me ask you this. If someone listening right now is doubting themselves, what would you want them to know?
That learning how to love yourself unconditionally is not as hard as it seems. Learning forgiveness for all of the years that you have not understood that it's actually a beautiful thing to love yourself. It's a beautiful thing to connect to whatever source, whatever higher power, whatever energy you connect with, that you and that energy are one, and that is okay, and that you can actually live your life in real peace and joy if you lead with that, because that is your soul's work. And if you lead with your soul's work, you have no place to go except up.
I love that distinction, fear collapsing in the chest and intuition expanding through the entire body. That feels like something people can actually use. What I'm really hearing through your entire story is that intuition isn't something you try to get better at. It's something you learn to stop overriding. I love this conversation because it brings intuition out of something abstract and into something embodied, something you can feel, something you can trust. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who's learning to trust their inner knowing. And if you want more conversations like this, make sure you're subscribed to the Alpha Mediumship Academy podcast. If this conversation resonated with you and you've ever wondered whether what you feel is intuition, imagination, or fear, I've created a short intuitive type quiz that helps you understand exactly how your intuition speaks through you. Because intuition is not one size fits all. Some people feel it in their body, some see it visually, some just know instantly. You can take the quiz below and discover your intuitive type and what's been blocking you from trusting it. Go to alphamediumshipacademy.com. Reach out and let me know what you've discovered about your intuition and intuitive pattern. Leah, thank you for being here and sharing your story so openly.
So I want everyone to know more about you and what you are presently working on right now, where people can find you, what your website is. We would love
Great.
to hear all about that.
Thank you. Yeah, so people can find me at www.qslhealing.com. And QSL Healing is Quantum Soul Level Healing. And it is sort of a subsidiary of my company, my framework, which is the Quantum Soul Level Healing Framework. And what I do is I combine, when I work with people and when I teach, I combine the 6 modalities in which I work: somatic journey work, Reiki, channeling of spirit guides, mental mediumship, after-death communication, and retrocognition. And I work with all of those modalities to help people find their soul's purpose. And it's not about like, what do I want to do in my life? Is that my soul's purpose? It's more about, how do you fundamentally live in your highest and best? And a lot of times we have to go back to our ancestral work. We have to go even further back to work that with our spirit guides to help us really sort of understand the origins of our soul. And then oftentimes we have to go back to our formative years. So it is a combination. My work is a combination of all of that. And I have 4 different programs within the Quantum Soul Level Healing Framework. I have a 12-month program where people can do 1 session a month that sort of, over time helps people get to where they need to go. It's a slow burn. I have a 3-month program, a 3-session program where people can do 3 sessions over 2 months. So that's a super slow burn and you don't go as deep. And then I have a VIP day, which is where you do a very condensed, within 4 hours, 3 different sessions to help heal whatever you may need to work on. And then my biggest program is my 6-session container that operates over the course of 2 months. So there are lots of different ways to get in to the Quantum Soul Level Healing Framework. Each one of the pathways guide you and get you to where you need to go. And once you connect and you trust that this is what feels right, it always works. It's just extraordinary how this work sustains itself. It's not therapy, it's not coaching. We really go deep and it completely shifts how you think and operate in your life. And it's a beautiful thing to witness and to be a part of. So people can go to www.qslhealing.com and book a discovery call and we can have a conversation. And that's really how I like to do it, because I think it's really important to have that human one-on-one contact before I ask them to take any kind of quiz. And then after, I'll sort of have them do a survey to find out where they are and which program would really serve them the best.
That's wonderful. Each person that joins your program is really going to get to the right place where they really will feel and have that transformation in their life. It's
Absolutely.
wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you, Joy. It's very exciting.
And I know personally that Leah is an incredible medium. So she's just so gifted.
Oh, thank you.
This has been such a beautiful conversation. For anyone listening, if you're questioning your own intuition, I hope you take away that it's something you can learn to trust, not something you have to force. Leah, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate your perspective.
Thank you, Joy, and thanks for having me on. I'm honored.
Thank you, everyone, for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for being here with me today. If this resonated with you, you can continue your development through Alpha Mediumship Academy using the link in the show notes. And if you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to follow the podcast so you don't miss future episodes. And just remember, you're probably perceiving more clearly than you think. You're just learning how to trust it. Until next time, stay aware, stay grounded, and trust yourself a little more than you did yesterday.